PortaBilling, it's a system which handles the customer information and charging, but the service is typically provided by some external system. And the question is, how do we activate the service there or deactivate if a customer doesn't pay or something else? And for many years, we had an existing system called Good Old. It has abbreviation ESPF, External Systems Provisioning Framework, and was working and did many amazing projects. However, it had a few limitations. One of them was because it was the changes which happened on the administrator interface, on the self-care interface. Basically, we track the changes in the database. And when the change in database happens, for instance, somebody changed the account password or changed product assigned to an account, that is queued and then is sent to external application via webhook, basically HTTP post. That application does whatever is required, maybe activate a SIM card in HSS, maybe add some channels in the IPTV platform, and it is working. However, the challenges were because we were working at the database level, the events which have to be processed by this application, they're quite low level. So you have to really be familiar with, again, the structure of different objects. And most importantly, this webhook, it only receives basic information that something was changed on account with ID 12345. And then this application is responsible for retrieving the data from PortaBilling. It means connecting to the API and doing work with fairly complex structures. So in reality, people who will be writing those webhooks, they have to be somebody who's very familiar with PortaBilling, structures, API, and so on. And that, of course, severely limited the amount of those applications being written. And we're now in the era of AI. We want people to be able to vibe code those applications, when ideally people who are doing this, they are not a developer familiar with PortaBilling, or maybe not even a developer. The new service provisioning system, first of all, it is not a replacement for ESPF. It is an extension of ESPF. So once the change in PortaBilling happened, it was processed by regular PortaBilling means. This event is delivered to NSPS, which runs in the cloud, which opens up now for us possibilities to have queues, to have scalability, to do many amazing things. And inside there's going to be a separate queue for each handler. So if we have to provision HSS, IPTV, and ERP, there's going to be 3 separate queues. And if one of them is delayed, that's their problem. The team will be working on it, but the provisioning of other applications should not be delayed. And that was something which sometimes there were issues with ESPF. But the key change there is that all style application has to go to PortaBilling and retrieve the data. And if we have 3 separate webhook handlers, they will go to PortaBilling and they will ask for exactly the same information, account of info. So this would create an extra load on PortaBilling. So what we did, NSPS contains a component which does service data retrieval. It retrieves account information, SIM card information, basically whatever is required for service provisioning. It was written by our developers. They know PortaBilling API. So the application here will just receive a single JSON object with the data they need. And because it's done here, we can cache the request. So if there are 3 or 10 handlers which need account information for the same account, within a few seconds difference, we'll just only send one request to PortaBilling, which drastically reduces the load. So this gives truly ability to a person who is not familiar at all, who they may have never seen PortaBilling interface in their life, but they can create an application, microservice, which will receive inbound request and then send the outbound one. And there are a few other nice to have features. For instance, things happen, things go wrong. If there was an error in the code, maybe it wasn't processing certain types of SIM cards or certain types of accounts because of mistake in the code, because of misconfiguration on PCRF, you can see the events which had error status, and then you can just replay those events and they will be reprovisioned.